Hey everybody, this is kind of a on the spot thing, but just decided, hey, why not, right? Nothing's really going on tonight, so might as well do something a bit last minute. I'm gonna wait for you guys to trickle in because knowing this channel, it takes a little bit of time. But that's okay. It'll just have me. We won't get to like the main stuff until some people start showing up. Hey, there's one. See, trying to get to the chat here, but it's not loading. How's everybody doing tonight? Hello, Setsuka Chi... I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry. Oh well, just know that I gave you a greeting of some kind, even if I can't verbalize your name. Hello, Raven the Commentator 2001, nice to see you. So, for those of you who don't know, what I do for these live streams is I have a separate one playing on my phone so I can keep up with the chat. Meanwhile, my computer is the one that is focusing on the stream, but right now my computer is frozen, so I'm hoping everything's coming in clearly. Are you guys able to understand me? Those two of you who are here? Alright, come on, unfreeze so we can get started. I'll have to edit this part out when we get there. Yes, this is the book I was talking about. 6 months of work. Man, my chair is creaky. 6 months of work, and I finally came out with this book, The Riche Family, Volume 1, of 8, I believe, that are planned. That's the best way to get the story. Because, well, if I just compacted it all into one, then it wouldn't really be so good. It'd be way too long, for one. You think Order of the Phoenix was long? Whew. There's a lot to go over for this. There is no link in the description for this as of yet because it wouldn't let me put it in a description, but in post I will put this in, and of course if you're ever interested in checking it out, go to Amazon. Sorry, I cannot sign it unless it was sent directly to me, which I'm not going to give out my address because I know terrible things can happen if somebody does that. You don't give out your address and you don't give out your social security number, which by the way, my social security number is 7. Just 7. I'm that old. Alright, we're 3 minutes in. I'm gonna get started talking about the main subject in just a second, but yes, like I said, it is the book that I wrote. Gonna give a real quick update on some other stuff while I wait for this to unfreeze right here. Standard is going well. Almost all the actors have turned in their stuff. So the first episode should be coming out by the end of January, I believe. We had a new media mementos tonight, and that one went over pretty well, covering some lost media again. The Winner, produced by Seth MacFarlane. And honestly, that was probably my favorite thing that Seth MacFarlane's ever made, but that's not saying a lot, because the only other thing that I liked were his episodes of Johnny Bravo and Larry and Steve. Larry and Steve, if you don't know, was the prototypical Family Guy. Peter Griffin and Brian were, well, just Larry and Steve. And it actually was funny because he had people telling him what to do. When you let creators of adult shows just run loose, you can get something good like South Park, something decent like Rick and Morty, or something bad like Drawn Together Season 3 or Family Guy. So at least The Winner, it looked like he had someone telling him what to do, as well as some other guy who was working with him. But hey, if you want to hear more about that, just check out the video. Alright, I think we've gone on long enough, so first I will give an introduction to this series as a whole by telling you what it is about, and by doing so I will do it the laziest way possible and just read off of the back of the book. Because hey, it's put so well there anyways, whoever wrote this must be a genius. Past the city, beyond the neighborhoods, and into the forest lies the Riche family. A family in central Alabama with hardly a penny to their name. Living has been a great struggle. Despite having the same circumstance, each Riche has a different conflict. Jacob Riche wishes to escape poverty. Harley Riche wants real friends. Wesley Riche works extremely hard and barely sees his family. Mr. Riche needs to return to the outside world, and August is trying to have the best childhood possible. Through the course of 1 month, they will face individual challenges. Challenges filled with acts of support, insecurities, realizations, and dangerous secrets. This may give them hope for the future, not just with income, but with the importance of loved ones. That is the description on the back. I will not take full credit for that because I only wrote a small piece of that. I may have written the book, but I'm not good at writing descriptions of the book, as it turns out. Hopefully I'm good at writing the book itself, but that's not for me to judge. I'm proud of it, but I need to make sure that the audience is proud of it too, of course. Don't want to get a swell head. That's what happens. Yeah, we all know what happens when that comes in, right? We get stuff like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, or Drawn Together American Idol clip show parody. We get that. And so far it seems like what I've been hearing have been good. There haven't been any actual Amazon reviews as of yet, but people seem to like it quite well. So the way this started off was actually really weird. I actually have the day written down on my phone because I still have the original notes page from when I first came up with the idea. It was July 11th, just walking around town. I'm not telling you which town because I don't want you guys going to find me. That's not okay. And I was just kind of thinking about some random ideas for stories I had, just kind of going through. Started off with me just thinking about Standard and where to take that in the future, because we were kind of at a little bit of a creative standstill with that for there. This is still in the crossroads process where we were deciding whether or not it should become an audio series or still focus on animation or whatever we were going to do. Which I think we all know what happened in the end. If you don't, well then just watch the other videos explaining it, because that's not the place for it here. Just thought of this random idea because I found a lot of coins on the ground. I'm really, really good at finding change. In fact, there's still a video of me on this channel with my, $175 in change that I found here at college. And over there, now I have 204 sitting in a box behind me. I'm really good at finding coins. I have a system and I have my secrets. No, it has nothing to do with robbery. That you know of. So I found a whole bunch there. And I was just thinking, what if I wrote a short story about a guy, like a really poor, down on his luck guy, who makes his living by finding loose change on the ground, and he treats it like a legitimate business, because it was supposed to be a comedy at first. The Riche Family itself is not comedy. It has some comedy in it, I suppose, but that's not its main focus. Anyways, it was going to be just this kind of comedy story about this guy who picks up all this loose change and sees it as a legitimate business, and he was going up in the world because he found like a whole quarter or something in a bush and a couple other stuff. So then I decided to flesh it out. I felt like he needed a family, maybe to provide for, and like they hated it. They hated the fact that he didn't get a job and he was just trying to find loose change, and he wouldn't let anyone else get a job either. Because coins were going to get him by, hard metals, gold standard and all that. Random buzzwords from 1880 political debates. But then as I kind of tinkered with the idea, I just started fleshing it out more and more. Like, I decided to have the wife be dead. I decided to give the kids their own arcs and stuff. Then I decided to turn it into a series because I was liking the characters too much. But then I thought, if I'm going these places with the arcs and the character development, which I can't quite say because that's going to give away future books, then it's not going to work as a comedy. So let's turn it into kind of a light and dark thing, like a slice of life. These people, story revolves around you just following these people that you kind of feel like you know in real life. Because the thing is, there's no magic powers or wacky hijinks, at least nothing out of the ordinary, save for one important thing, which is kind of a spoiler, but also kind of the main plot of the book. Either way. Dang, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, what was I saying? Dang it. Okay, I decided to kind of make it a little bit more of a serious thing. Basically, like I said, a light and dark in tone. not really focusing on comedy, but rather just stories. And of course, with that in there, the whole loose change thing was most certainly not gonna fly. Because something that stupid and ridiculous is not gonna make for a compelling story. I mean, come on, think about it. Let's take a serious movie here. I don't know. Not thinking of any. It's late at night. It's just a dumb thing. Kind of like with way back in the Live and Reloaded days, where we were going to start off with the Mr. Nezer and his van story, which is not as creepy as you think. It's not predatorial per se, but we don't talk about those days. I got one of my friends to draw the cover for me, and I'm pretty proud of her work. She thought it didn't look very good because apparently all artists think that their work is not good. But I'm proud of it, and that's it's partially the main thing that matters. The only other thing that matters is that she likes it, which I guess, well, creators tend to kind of look at their stuff rather harshly. They see all the flaws in it that aren't there, and they just can't accept it for what it is. I'm no artist, like, I don't draw at all. I can't do that to save my life, but when it comes to writing, I most certainly feel the same way. Partially, I kind of see myself in George Lucas, the way he constantly tinkers with the Star Wars trilogy, or at least used to before it got taken away from him, and rightfully so. Although now we do have the prequels, or the sequels, but that's another story. I kind of see myself in him in a sense, because, well, I always like to tinker with my stuff. I always want to just go at it and constantly fine-tune everything, make it absolutely perfect. But the thing is, you can't really do that when you write. You need to have a set end goal. You can't have everything be exactly perfect, especially when you have a deadline. Writing the first one is hard because you have to set up the world and everything and all the characters, but it's also the easiest because there's no deadline. You can just take as long as you need and you can just write. And you can fine-tune it exactly the way you want. But then when you get up to the second one or third one or however long you go, then that kind of goes away, especially when there's a demand. Of course, there's not really a demand for this. It just came out and no one really knows about it. But, you know what I mean. Yeah, wise words from Big Idea. Never really finished, you just run out of time. That is very true. I have especially felt that with this, because I wanted to make it very, very perfect. I've even done a lot of stuff outside of the book, like expanding the world, because, you know me, I'm a government man, so there's some government talk in here. One of the main characters is a former governor of Alabama. Spoilers. And you know, I went through his backstory, I made this whole elaborate thing, which I'm actually turning into a story in book 2. Because I can't ignore it. I like it too much. Let's see, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer them, as long as there's no real substantial spoilers. There might be an audiobook sometime. I'm mostly just trying to move some regular physical copies first, but if the time comes around, I would be happy to make some kind of audiobook. One thing that is holding me back, though, is that I was going to put it on this channel and make it monetized, but as of recently, this one has lost monetization because of stupid stuff. They accused me of re-uploading someone else's work, but they forgot to cite what I apparently re-uploaded without permission, and they also have forgot to tell me which video it was. So, I don't believe them. I don't believe them for a second. Still, I'm going to be losing out on a month of revenue, so that makes Patreon all the more important. But that's not for this channel. The thing is, though, I know most people would choose the cheaper option, which would be the audiobook. But I would still want to make money off of that with ads, even if some people use ad blocker. But again, I can't do that, because there's no more ads being played on any of these things. To be fair, it's not like I was making a ton anyways, especially with VeggieTales Abridged getting copyrighted, and boy, it's been a while since I've said that name. Honestly, I don't really miss it too much. But that was my key puller for a while. That was what made a lot of the money and the subscribers. When it wasn't being claimed, that is. When it was claimed, I'm sure it was doing decently for whoever claimed it. And it wouldn't always be Big Idea or Classic Media. It'd sometimes just be random people. So I would like to do an audiobook at some point, but just can't do that right now. It's not really a viable option. Oh, that makes sense. So VTA might be claimed because of the unlisted stuff. Oh, that makes more sense. Okay. Copying videos with permission, and especially because we worked on those together, so they were our videos. I think they kind of jumped the gun on that one. But, oh well. I haven't thought about that series in forever. But I'm okay with that. It's time to move on to bigger and hopefully better things. There's Standard, Riche Family Volume 2, Medium Mementos, of course, which if you guys, I don't understand if you haven't been subscribed or not, because I'm not looking at you right now, or spying on your computer that you know of. But I'd assume you guys are subscribed to that. I've already been telling everyone about it. But speaking of VeggieTales Abridged, putting that in the description, the link to Medium Mementos, turned out to be a very good idea. Turns out I got a lot of subscribers from doing that, as well as doing stuff like The Loud House and Green Eggs and Ham. Green Eggs and Ham is doing very well. Almost 7,000 views. I didn't even think that was my best one. I just think it's such a hot button topic right now. Also, Drawn Together Season 3's Absolute Garbage is my 4th highest rated video right now. It's a week old. I'm going to get back to the Riche Family in a second, but I just want to take a look at and see what my most viewed videos are. I know obviously the most, like I said, is Green Eggs and Ham, then Mike TV, The Boy With No Childhood, Good Sports Gang Episode 1, Swing and a Miss, How the Loud House Survived on Nickel... Oh, no, it's out of order. So it is Green Eggs and Ham, Mike TV, Good Sports Gang, Drawn Together Season 3, and The Loud House. Those are my top 5. For some reason, The Loud House was above Drawn Together Season 3, even though Drawn Together Season 3 has 50 more views. Man, that one blew up. A couple of these are blowing up. Word Girl's still really up there. Dang. Would not have expected that. Oh, well. You know, I'll take it, right? Views are views. So you guys have any questions about the book? I know you guys haven't read it or anything. Still a couple copies have sold. Let's check my sales records. With almost no promotion and advertising to people that don't have money, let's face it, a lot of the people who watch the TAS channel are children. Oh, so 4 have sold. Last I checked, it was 3. 4 whole sales, yeah, man. But honestly, I'd take that over nothing. At least my hard work is going to something, right? Because the thing about the Riche Family is it kind of came out of nowhere because I didn't tell anybody about it. But I've always wanted to write a book in some way. Not necessarily this book, but just a book. I've always wanted to do that. And now here was finally my time. I wanted to finally do it. And I was going to stick with it. Nothing was going to stop me. Nothing at all. And with a little bit of help with some friends who looked over it and told me what to put in or change this wording and all that, don't worry, it still remained my exact vision. I was able to finally get it done. It was hard, I'll be honest. It's a long book. Long for my sense, at least. It's like 370-something pages. This is just the first book. They always get longer as they go on. I fear that when we get to 8, it's going to be Order of the Phoenix level, where it's basically a mini phone book. I don't want that, and I don't think anyone else wants that. So I'll do my absolute best to make sure it's within reasonable length. And for those of you who are waiting for Light and Dark, this would be a good way to kind of, I guess, appease the wait or help you pass the time, because it is the same in a lot of the style. Just take out the supernatural element. It has kind of similar characters, they talk in the same way, except with a bit more southern stuff in there because it's not in Wyoming, it's in Alabama. Hence why there's a picture of Alabama on the back and it mentions that they're in central Alabama. I know, it's hard to figure out, but when you put the pieces together, you tend to understand. And similar to Light and Dark, the characters grow in shape over time. The way I see it in this, actually really in just anything that I make, if a character is stagnant, then there's no purpose of having them. They need to develop over time. I mean, that's not like, say, Flanderization or outright change them from a good-natured person to some kind of psychopath, but they need to grow. They need to learn over time. They shouldn't be the exact same way that you left them by the end of the series. Although, again, you need to do it in constructive ways. You need to do it in ways that make sense with the character. Simply change for change's sake will not cut it. Let's take an example here. I'm trying to find one that... so this one isn't really spoilery because it kind of mentions it on the back. So Mr. Riche is a bit of a recluse. He lives inside of the RV that they live in because it's a battered up old piece of garbage that sits out on a patch of grass in the middle of the woods. Because yes, they have to live like that. He's still really, really struggling with losing his wife, even though that was quite a while ago. And I'm not talking about months, I'm talking about even years. Like since the youngest kid was born, but he's still never really recovered from it because Mr. Riche is kind of strange in a way where he's a very, very loyal and dedicated person. He's not going to give up on anybody. But the thing is, his loyalty can also be a weakness because even say when his wife passes away, he refuses to get over it. Every day is pretty much spent upset that she left. Of course, I mean dying, but you know what I mean. So that's basically his arc. He needs to kind of get through that, move past it, reconnect with his other family that he's basically shunned, and just grow up, basically. He's an adult, but he kind of can't act like one, and because of that, and because he doesn't really hold down a stable job, he has a pressure washing business that has very little business going for it. All he can really do is just sit around and be alone with his thoughts, forcing the oldest son, Wesley, to end up becoming a pseudo-parent to the family. So Wesley was forced to lose his childhood and grow up way faster than he should have, because by all means, Mr. Riche isn't really emotionally capable of being a parent on his own. And he's not able to bring himself to remarry or even try because, well, he sees that as disloyalty, breaking a vow that he made to someone who is no longer with us. Not saying that that's wrong or that's right or anything, that's just how he feels. So it's an example of that per se. I would give away Jacob's because Jacob is technically speaking the main character, but that kind of spoils the first story, and I don't want to do that. But that's the kind of thing that the Riche family offers. Characters that grow with time and they feel, at least the intention is that they feel relatable to all the people that read it. You feel like you know Wesley, Harley, Jacob, and all those people. Heck, some of the stuff is based off of stuff that I went through when I was younger, or just things about me in general. For instance, so I don't know if I mentioned it, but the book is broken up into stories, mini stories. There's 6 in the first one. Each one has about 5 or 6 chapters. So chapter 2 in the 5th story is the kid, August, he's 7. He and his friend just go outside and just imagine that they're in their favorite TV show, The Monster Marauders. They have their own original characters and they go on their own crazy, wacky adventures. And that was based off of me when I was younger. if you've seen my top 10 favorite Pokemon video on Media Mementos, I mentioned that there was a friend of mine who we had our own Pokemon OCs, I guess you could say that. And we went outside and we'd make up all these crazy adventures that we'd go on, and we had lore and established themes, and it was surprisingly complex for a bunch of 3rd and 4th and 5th graders. That's how long it lasted. And it's pretty much just based off of that. There's no real through line aside from the stories that they're telling, which I made extremely juvenile and superficial on purpose because they're kids. They're 7. They can't come up with real deep, complex themes. Even us, when we did our games and stuff, playing as our Pokemon trainers back then, it wasn't that deep and complex, but, you know, for kids it was. That's really all that matters. And so I kind of captured that memory in a bottle, in a sense, and put that into the story. Even going so far as to not call them by their names throughout the most of it, but just call them by their characters' names. Being, no, one of them was Ace. I'm flipping through the copy right here. Their names were... Aha. Ace and Beastron. I made the name Beastron incredibly cringy on purpose because, again, kids aren't the best at coming up with names. They're pretty lousy. We didn't really come up with any unique characters, I suppose. Like, no new Pokemon when we played as our trainers. We just came up with our own characters. Mine was named after me, and his was not named after him. His was named Tom instead. There's a character in this book named Tom, but not after that. That was purely an isolated coincidence. So yeah, that chapter was actually kind of a rush to write because it brought me back. It made me feel young again. It brought me back to those times from when he and I used to play those games together. Because I don't know if you heard the full story, but what happened at the end was he moved away just so suddenly. He got the notice from his family that in a month he was going to be gone. And aside from Alfonso, who was, yes, my friend even back then, he was probably my closest one I had. And he, unlike Alfonso, went to my school. So I'd see him every day and all the time. And we had that giant history of those characters together, and I didn't want to set that aside. It really did kind of hurt to let it all go, especially when I was younger. I kind of went through some stages of grief, like I was in denial a little bit at first. I was angry. I was even mad at Indiana, the state of Indiana that was taking him away in my mind. Don't forget, I was in like 5th grade or so. So I wasn't really ready to comprehend that I could be losing one of my best friends for good. Thankfully, it had a happy ending. He'll be moving actually to Arizona this summer. I don't live in Arizona, but I go to school here. In fact, I'm sitting in the middle of the desert right now, so to speak. So I'll be able to see him again. It'll be the first time I've seen him physically, other than the time he came out to visit that one time in junior year. Because we kept in close contact throughout the entire time. We always talk about once every 2 weeks or so. He knows all what goes on in my life. I know all that go on in his. And honestly, this is a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, but I kind of want to take the story in that route too. Because even thinking back to those really hard moments from when I was younger, it just, I mean, I'm over it now, of course, because I know he's happy and we still keep in contact, but I still remember the emotion from when I was younger, and that was really hard to get through. That was the first time and one of the only 2 times I ever lost a friend in any way. Not just moving away, just in general. So I wasn't ready for that. I think I could write that into a pretty good story. A lot of the times writers will say the best things in stories come from real life. And this was real life. It was painful and it sucked, but it was real life. And I think I could put that well in there. What do you guys think? Well, while I wait for the replies to come in, I need to check something real quick. So, what do you guys think? Should I put that in there? Is that a good idea for a story? Spoiler alert, kind of already decided. Oh, by the way, in just a minute I'm going to be going, but I'm going to a second stream instead. Because I have a special friend joining me who actually helped make this book come to life. I'll be discussing it with one of my proofreaders here. I'll post a link to it. It's coming up in just a minute. I'm trying to get it all up and running. I just don't like how this thing is run. Ever thought I'd say this, but I miss Google Hangouts. It was so much simpler. There you go. Isn't that neat? And no, I haven't unpacked since I've been back. I've just been so full of stuff when it comes to the schedule. Normally I'm not like that. Alright, let's try something here. Dang. Yeah, like I said, I never thought I'd say it, but I miss Google Hangouts. Alright, so it's looking like... Nope. Ah, okay, here it is. Found it. So, there is a second stream popping up in just a moment. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys later.